Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here, and especially in New Brunswick, because a lot of things started for me in New Brunswick. I'll start at the early days, and I was, well, I would say less than average student. I was even lower than that, I think. I don't know. They had to think about failing me and has anybody failed grade primary? Well, I did. So by the time my elementary school, it was same areas, it was a Catholic school. And so the first thing is that before I went to school, I was fluent in Mi'kmaq. And there was a letter from the church that said that we were not to speak Mi'kmaq anymore. So my parents bought into that for some reason, and they stopped speaking Mi'kmaq to us because that was the first language in our house at that point and before school. But I remember talking to my friends, my neighbors, that, you know, we can't speak Mi'kmaq anymore. I remember that. And so I went to school ill-equipped. I didn't have my language. So things went not well for me, and I didn't really, emotionally too also. I think it was a very challenging for me. Yeah, I was kept back in grade primary. I wasn't ready for grade one. So, but I remember in grade one especially, well, maybe, yeah, grade one especially, when I started to do some drawing, sort of to kill the time there. I was kind of taking up a space. And so that, I really wasn't getting it. And so I found materials wherever I could, and so it was pretty negative experience, school, generally. It was just something you had to endure and kind of try to get through, and day by day. I would try to blend into the back, or sit in the back of the room as far as, but you know, sometimes they'd ask you a question just for entertainment's sake, and because I knew I didn't know the answer. They knew that beforehand, but so they would ask me a question that they knew I didn't have the answer for. And so, you know, it was challenging. So I started to draw for my own, you know, for myself. And so my schoolmates were my first audience. They encouraged me. They liked what I did, and they encouraged me. So that was the only real positive thing I'd say I had in elementary school, you know. And I did this. Of course, they paid price sometimes. You get caught, and you're not too right on your books, and, you know, put graffiti on things and so on. And, of course, I paid the price sometimes. You get caught, and I remember getting whacked over the head with a book once for that. But so that was my only refuge, I think, in that time. So I just did drawings, and I also, of course, you know, you don't have any confidence at that point. You figure everybody else can draw better than you, and you look at their drawing and say, "Wow, gee, that's really good." But the difference between them and me is I kept on going. They all stopped drawing, but I never did. So that was the one thing that sort of was my thing that got me through this early years. And so, you know, we got to be in the later on. It got to be, I think we sort of pushed me through to grade 9, and it was basically I failed at least 3 times, so I was almost a foot taller than everybody else. So I was in the center back row in every picture, because I was a foot taller than everybody else. So. And he said, did you go to school with Alan? I said, well, I failed all the time, so I went to school with everybody. So anyway, my grandmother, she was one of the first chiefs, female chiefs in Canada, Rachel Marshall. And my biggest fan, of course. And I owe a lot to my grandmother, my mother, my whole family. And the thing about our family, you know, it was a very peaceful house. You know, there was no, you know, arguments, and it was very calm and reasonable people. I'll just put it that way. So I think I learned that from my parents and grandparents, especially. Spent a lot of time with my grandfather and my grandmother, because our houses were close to each other, and my mother worked. So I spent a lot of time with grandparents. So, so I was working for my uncle, Fred Marshall. He had a cabinet shop, and so that was my first job. I was in the cabinet shop, and not really the best cabinet maker. I basically sanded everything. That's what was my job. So I looked out the window while I was sanding, and I would be daydreaming. And actually, that was one thing in school that I did often. I daydreamed. So I was there but not there. So the sanding job was perfect for that. So I did that, and then one day this artist from New Brunswick came recruiting for a program in New Brunswick, or in New England, actually. And Shirley Bear came. She was a Maliseet artist. She was a painter. And she had a program. She got funding from, I think, Ford Foundation, and some, she was also attached to AIM as well at the time. And so she met my grandmother, I think, and of course my grandmother was going on about, you know, her grandson, the great artist, and so on, and which is quite embarrassing most of the time, because she would kind of go on, you know. Anyway, I met Shirley, and we had an interview, and she picked me to go to be a part of the program in New England, in Salem, New Hampshire. So we spent 3 months there, and the idea was that Native people were going to teach Native people, which is very radical at the time. This is 1970, now you think. So we had teachers, but never from our own community, ever. So we were changing that. And so I spent time with various artists, great artists, actually. Some of them are, I saw some of them on PBS, actually, at the time. And I remember Jerry Williams, who's he's potter, but he was famous in New York and everything. He did one piece that was, I remember really well, was a KKK sculpture with his foot in the toilet bowl. That was very striking. And then I saw him on PBS, and he had these massive ceramic balls that were really big like this, and they're black, and it was in a field of sheep. So I thought, wow, this is expanding my world. And that's the thing about Shirley and taking me to New England in this course, because up to that point, I was on a little reserve, very small. You know, we only had maybe 40 houses, and we knew everybody in there, comings and goings. It's very intimate, you know. So coming and expanding the world like this was amazing. And from then on, I thought of the world as a big place. Look, opportunities. Never thought about that till then. So that was the best thing that changed the universe for me, was Shirley coming and taking me away and putting me somewhere where I could be stimulated and learn. So that was a great time. The artists I met were incredible artists, some of them, and so we learned to do basic art. And the idea was to go on reserves, native communities in the summer, and do workshops, free for anyone who wanted to come. So we did that, and we were in Cape Breton and Eel River Bar, so in Maine also, we did some in Maine as well. So that was a great summer. Spent 3 months or 2.5 months in the summer doing workshops. It was a great experience. So that was great. It started me off on something. I never really had a plan to be an artist. I never had a plan to do much of anything. I said, well, and I think this is the way I sort of think about. I never had long-term plans. But you know, I'm more interested in what's in front of me right now, and maybe short-term, maybe in a year. So, but also, I'm also patient. So, a lot of projects take 5 years sometimes, and it doesn't bother me that I learned that the technology, you don't have the technology to do what you want, but you wait a little bit, and there it is. And that happened over and over and over. So, you know, well, life was definitely a struggle. I mean, I went to art college, decided that I would try art college in NSCAD, Nova Scotia Art College. And I was there, but I never really had the intention of graduating. Couldn't see, didn't think about graduating. I didn't think that as a goal that, you know, would get me. I don't know, I just wanted to go and explore, and that's what I did. So I went to art college, and I took up residence in the coffee shop, and I spent 4 or 5 hours a day in the coffee shop because everybody in the university or college would come there, and I would sit down and talk to them all day long. And that's where I got the most, because I met people from Tokyo and California and New York, and I sat with them and all day long. So that was my education. And I think I was the only student at NSCAD that had a hockey coat I wore, and I was on a hockey team. So you don't see that at NSCAD a lot. But I used to say that I was on the NSCAD football team. And no one could ever figure out our plays. So that I always got to laugh, that one. And so that was a good experience. And I didn't stay. I was there about 1.5 years. And but years later, I think 20 years later, so I don't know, 15 years. I mean, I got on the board of directors, so for a guy that drops out all the time, that's not too bad, I suppose. Don't actually stick at anything, but which is not quite true. I mean, giving our art is never a thought that ever crossed my mind. It did for a short time. I think I tried to quit being an artist because obviously it didn't pay. So for a year, I was pretty miserable trying to quit art. So I decided I'll just give in, and this is who I am, and this is what I'm going to do, regardless. And that's kind of what happened. I got in a relationship, got married, had 3 kids, got divorced, ended up with 3 kids. So I brought up 3 kids on my own for 20 years, sort of like, somebody wrote an article, so what happened to Alan Syliboy? Well, you know, I'm still around, but you know, I'm changing diapers and, you know, making lunches. So I did that for 20 years. I did my time. I called it, I put in my time. I did my 20 year, my life sentence. And I thought, well, I'm going to have my own studio when they get old enough, and that's what I did. I got my own studio, and things took off because my studio was my kitchen table. So everything I made was fit on a kitchen table. So I finally got a studio, and the studio was bigger than this place. It was huge, and the first thing I did is, well, I sat on the floor for 2 weeks looking at this empty space. And then I got motivated, and I filled that place. That was empty space. If there's an empty space, I'm going to fill it. It's almost like a beaver that hears water running. They've got to stop it. I've got to fill this space, and so I filled those with lots of paintings, 100 paintings. I spent about 10 years painting almost every day, experimenting. I could do anything I wanted. I'd just come in. I could do 7, 8 paintings at a time, and I learned my process. I enjoyed it so much, and put the ready wand, made music in there. It was a great, great time, and the landlord was very, very lenient with the rent. He was extremely, his name was Vic Yaden, and he's the kind of guy that doesn't want to take any kind of, he don't mention it, kind of guy. But I'd say I was there for 10 years, and I'd say 80% of the time he didn't collect rent. So I owe a lot for that, because it wouldn't be the same if he didn't come into my life. And I saw him not long ago, and I tell him that, but he doesn't want any thanks. He's that kind of guy. He's just just great. So I was lucky that I met people like that, allies along the way. My grandmother Shirley. And then it was difficult, to make ends meet, and I was on welfare most of the time with kids, with 3 kids and so on. So, and even on the reservation, in Millbrook, you almost like being an artist is even lower than regular people. I felt sometimes. I thought, you're an artist, oh yeah. Well, yeah. It wasn't. You didn't get points for that. You lost points for that, actually, I think. So, anyway, regardless. But the thing that Shirley taught me, she gave me a first art lesson. She was the one that instilled possibilities in my life. And so this world is a big place was still with me. And there's opportunities there. And then, I don't know, 20 years ago or so, about 20 years maybe, Facebook started. And it was the Wild West then. And you could friend anybody, as many as you wanted. So I was friending 50 people a day. I made fast friends. But a lot of those friends I still have. I still have after all these years. I just friended everybody, remember that. And then, of course, they frown on that now. You can't do that because, you got to stop there. Well, in fact, I tried to, the last time I tried to do that, they gave me a severe warning for that. You can't. Do you know this person? Do you know this person? I said, I will. I will know them. Give me half the chance. So that's how the Facebook thing grew. And I have an assistant, Reg Reg Henderson, and he came to work for me, and he was amazing. Yes, I mean, I hired him, but I didn't have any money, so he did actually work for me for a while for free. I said, who does that? Nobody does that. But he stuck with me. And so he was the missing link. I mean, the artist thing, you know, is the creative part of it, but you need the nuts and bolts, the financial, keeping things together part too, and Reg is that guy, you know, and that was crucial to where I am as well. Now I realize, you know, and then I have a friend as well that helped me. He was a sign painter, but I had some murals I had to do that were, you know, 20 feet tall, the murals, and had paint and so on. He was a sign painter. He did that every day. That was no big deal to him. So this friend of mine, he had 3 kids, and he got divorced same time as I did. So we just sort of kind of matched together, and so we've been friends all this time. But he's the guy that helps me on my major projects and my murals and so on. So, and it helps, you know, with just a sign painter, so he copies, and so we've been together for 30 years too. So it's another key member of my team, right? So the face thing grew and grew, and one day Reg put on there, he put on Facebook the Daily Drum. So I did a few drums, not many. Drums were kind of hard to come by, and you had to buy them, and then you couldn't sell them for like a painting. So they were not a major thing. You did one because I liked the idea of painting them, and I enjoyed it. I think first one I ever painted was for my grandfather had a drum. So here, see, and they're still, drums are still, we're making drums all the time. So yeah, the daily drum thing, it was only supposed to be, we just going to try it for a few days. So we stopped doing it, and there was this piles of protest. Where's our daily drum? So daily drum is obviously a very powerful drum because it took off, and it will not stop. The daily drum has grown massively, you know. People are not even on Facebook know the daily drum because somebody will tell them. So I hear about it all the time. But that's the way to get the message out. To me, the drum is the message, and we do a writing, we do a teaching with every drum, so people appreciate that. So I'll get into the music thing. I had a band called Lone Cloud early on, and we had 10 years. My son was 14, and it kind of evolved. And another thing, we never had an idea to start a band. It just kind of evolved, and like everything evolved and what we did. And he was wanting to learn guitar, so I invited musician friends that I knew to come play and jam with us. And I was hoping that he would, join in, but he was so shy, he would just look in the room. But after a while, he got in the room and started to play guitar with everybody. And so we started jamming every week. We just practiced, but we're not a band. And finally, we turned into a band. And we were a band for about 10 years. Lone Cloud was called. And Lone Cloud was a medicine man. Very important. And my grandmother used to talk about him, about Lone Cloud and so on. So I knew, and I met, when I was a little one, I was maybe 5, 6 years old, even older than 7. Lone Cloud's first wife, she was a Maliseet woman, and she was in her 90s, but she used to come visit my grandmother's mother, and my grandmother was adopted by this woman, and so that was a link to Lone Cloud. So we made the band Lone Cloud, and my aunt went to interview Lone Cloud's former wife and asked about Lone Cloud, she would not acknowledge she ever heard of him. He was a cad. So, and she kind of moved on from Lone Cloud. I thought that was pretty. Anyway, yeah, we want to know, right? No Lone Cloud stories coming from her. So there's a lot of things. Like the band, it was our training wheels. Basically, we learned to be a band, learned music, and learn what to not to do as well. We learned a lot. You make a lot of mistakes along the way. My thing too was, if you make mistakes. You don't have to. You will make mistakes, but try not to repeat them. That was my thing. So that's worked for me mostly along in my life, I think. So this second band is the Thundermakers, and recruiting was more important this time because we have to, the character, the vibe's got to be right. Everything's got to be right. And I think we did a good job with the Thundermakers. So I'm really happy about the Thundermakers and where we are right now. We're almost 10 years into this band now. Learning about everything, learning about music. My son Evan, he's taken over the industry part of Alan Syliboy Industries. He's going to do the record company, and we're doing a big project in the future, a Willie Dunn project, and also a festival. So all of that is, in the next couple of years, you'll see that evolving as well. So anyway, I'd like to, let's go to YouTube and Mother Sworn In. This is our video. We made this video at my studio in Millbrook. Yes, that's the one right there. So we made that at my studio.
Way higher, way higher, way higher, hey. 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 Hear the thunder in the distance, it comes. See the people with their children, see them run. We're destroying, feel the heat. Can't you feel the earth move, need your feet? The Mother Earth telling us she's had enough. These are the signs we should be thinking of. Or do we keep destroying? Are we gonna help our mother to survive? Way higher, way higher, way higher, hey. Way higher, way higher, way higher, hey. Can you see the water rising? See the floods? People killing one another, and for what? Cutting up the forest, we did end. And the fires that are burning feels like hell. The Mother Earth telling us she's had enough. These are the signs we should be thinking of. Or do we keep destroying? Are we gonna help our mother to survive? Way higher, way higher, way higher, do we keep destroying? Are we gonna help our mother to survive? Do we heed the warning, or do we keep destroying? Are we gonna help our mother to survive? This is the heartbeat of Mother Earth. And if we, the children, caretakers of our mother, keepers of the earth, wind, rain, and fire, don't listen to the pleas of our mother, the heartbeat may soon stop.
Thank you. It was Hubert Francis singing that, and I got to tell you about Hubert because we go back really way at the beginning, way in 1970, and he had a band called the Tribe, I think. And in Millbrook, in my community, we had a motel we just built. The Abenaki was called the Abenaki, and so Hubert's band would play at the Abenaki, and that was a big deal. That was a pretty big deal. We had we had a lounge in Millbrook. Wow, that's pretty wild. And and Hubert, and so that's where I met Hubert, and his band, and of course we became friends real fast, and they used to come to my place after their gig and party and so we ended up getting to know each other well, and there were party days then. I was partying then, and he was, and partying way too much, of course, but so I hadn't seen Hubert for a long time. And about 40 years ago, I became sober. I stopped drinking because it was getting in the way of my art. I couldn't function with a hangover. So I decided that, well, and then again, the process, I never had I didn't mean to quit drinking. That wasn't my goal, really. I said I want to clear my head for a week. So that week felt so good. That was clear head for a week. I thought, wow, let's try another week. And then on into months and years, and finally 40 years have rolled by, and with a clear head. But I could make art every day. See, that's... And somewhere along the line, Hubert had that same thing happen to him. He sobered up too. And then Brooks Diamond, he had a show called Drum, and he was looking for somebody for the show. And who do you think? And the guy that came to my mind was Hubert, because Hubert is a guy that stuck with it. He was a musician. That's it, all out. Just like me. So I said, well, hire Hubert. And he was with Drum for a long time, 10, 15 years. And it, changed it for him. And along the way, he was in Lone Cloud a little bit, my first band too, just as a guest mostly. But the second band, Thundermakers, he is the elder. He is the we rely on Hubert for everything. The knowledge of that guy is amazing. I mean, he's worked with drum because you learn technique. You have to learn things all the time, and it's very complex working to a show like that. So every time we record, or we do anything, we have incredible knowledge that we can rely on. Hubert's one of them, and our bass player Lucas Pierce. Evan has been a guitar player since he was 14. That was the best money I ever spent on that guitar. Took real good care of it. So, and my other band members, all of them are in their own right accomplished musicians, and it's an honor and pleasure to be with them every day. I look forward to a show like last night, for instance, because we're coming to play for different people. We have a new audience, and I think we're enjoying our process even better, and I think that shows if the audience, we're having a good time. We enjoy being there and doing what we're doing. So that, and being here again in New Brunswick. I want to talk with some of the art that's on the wall here. When I met with Shirley Bear, we did one of the artists we met was a silk screen artist. And so we learned silk screening. And we used real silk then. It wasn't synthetic like now, but it was real silk. It was interesting because silk could only last so long, and so it was a sweet spot. You try to get your pieces in there. So we did some, Shirley Bear and I, Peter Clare, we made prints. And so when I left there and I went home, and I wanted to make prints. So there was a Cuso, I think it was, there were the retired people that were in industry or whatever. They would mentor people. Cuso, I think it was. Anyway, Roger Matheson was a printer. So he came to help me. It was all volunteer. And so we made those prints, the two prints you see there, the dancer and the woman in the chorus, were ones that I made after Shirley Bear's prints that I made. That's where I made the first Red Crane, was with Shirley Bear. So those ones I actually made. So it wasn't very long that I had someone make my prints. I had a master printer in Halifax that was, she was an incredible printer, Susan Wakefield. And she did all my prints for many, many years. But she was a master printer. Oh, she was the best. So I stopped making them because it's really hard work making prints. It's really hard. And the same with the drums, Do you make the drums? No, because if I made drums, it would be. It is so hard to make a drum. It's much easier painting them. So I have someone that makes my drums for me, and actually he's from Seattle. Well, he's a Canadian, but he lives in Seattle, and he's Wayne Siebert's his name, and he's 83 years old, and he's pumping these things out like no tomorrow. If you call him on the phone, you swear he's 30 years old. He's just enthusiasm. Man, if I could make 83 and still be productive like that, that's a gold. That is, wow. So I'm lucky. That's another thing. He's been my drum maker for 20 years. So long-term relationships also has a lot to do with success, I feel. So, I have friends that I've known for 60 years. We're still collaborating and doing things, and that is something that I appreciate a lot. So yeah, so we got a lot of projects. There's too many to go through all of them, but there's won some medals. Jubilee medal. I won, I think, 3 or 4 medals already. And actually, that drum there that you see, the big one with the member two, the big one. That's an image I did for the Queen, and I made a drum with that. That image, member two. Member two was the first baptized Christian Mi'kmaq. And so I made this image as a drum, and they're going to make a medal. It's a commemorative medal. It's 200 years of Mi'kmaq treaties or something. Anyway, it's a brand new medal, and they only make so many. They've, like in a major treaties, they would make this medal. And the last one they made was 50 years ago. And they gave them to the chiefs when they signed treaties. But they're going to make a new medal, and I think the king has to sign off on it. Then I sign off on it, and we have his medal. It's a big medal. It's about 3 inches. It's big, like that. So that's the latest thing medal. That's in the works. So no one knows about this but you guys. Don't tell anybody. Well, usually somebody, it's for a certain theme or a certain, like, for instance, okay, if we go back to the Facebook, the first one we started with, the Facebook picture. Okay, that's all right. Yeah, no, yeah, the mural. Yeah, that's a mural. It ended up a mural. It started out just as a painting, but that was Tufts Cove Survivor. That was Tufts Cove was a little village in Dartmouth on water, and that's the Halifax explosion annihilated that that community. Half were killed outright, and the other half were sent to reserves. So we were living in Halifax or in Dartmouth there, but the explosion was a excuse to get rid of us. So they moved us out, and we didn't get rebuilt. Everybody got rebuilt. Even Black people got rebuilt, and everybody, not us. So to me, our story wasn't told, and that was the reason I did this. So this is at the Maritime Museum. You can go down there. It's right where it all happened, and it's 14 feet long, and it's so a lot of the ones I do. These are prints. These are prints of a smaller painting, but I enlarge them. So a lot of my murals are that now. So I don't do a whole lot of murals anymore, like painting them, because physically it's difficult. But I will do that. I did that actually. I had a show at Dell a couple of years ago, a couple of summers ago, and I did I hand painted a mural that's over 100 feet. It was just, do we have any pictures of Dalhousie Art Gallery? Yeah, that's it. Journey so far. That's it. See there's a mural there. See, this is over 100 feet long, and I had my grandkids working on it. I had 6 painters. This is only part of it. I mean, it's huge. And people are so upset with it. We painted over it. But that was the deal. You can do this mural, but we have to paint over it. I said, okay. And people are so upset. But I like that they're so upset because they care about it. I like that. I mean, but the painting will live on in the catalog. Catalog's coming out, and then You can get this show online, actually. You can see the whole show. It's still available online. So you can see the whole show, over 100 paintings. It's the biggest show I ever did. Yeah, substantial, yes. And my curator was incredible because she would never say no to me. I said, what about this one then? Oh, yes, well, we can do that. Oh, bring it in, bring it in. So Pamela Edmonds, Pamela Edmonds is her name. And so so we did this. And so we made it, it's huge. I mean, it goes right down here like that, but it goes further down this way into a little room, and it still goes around the room. So it was pretty impressive. So, but everything I wanted, I got. Like, so this is the best show that I've ever. Oh yeah, actually, petroglyphs are pretty major because Shirley is teaching me how to paint, and she was more. She did, typical landscapes and mural portraits, and she taught me how to do portraits. I could do a portrait like Shirley Bear did. I said, "Wow, I'm not that bad at it, But I'm not Shirley Bear, but But she came up one day with, we are artists, but we shouldn't be typical artists. We are different. We are, we have a culture behind us. So she found a book of petroglyphs. It was a book of tracings from the museum in Nova Scotia from Kejimkujik Park. So those are the petroglyphs, the first ones we ever saw. So it was just like a catalog for us, and we're looking through them and everything. But that fueled our the culture part of what we do, and that's everything really. So that was another important thing that happened that changed the directions of everything. Yeah, she brought that book, and we still use. To me, I don't have to see the book anymore. I memorize everything and just about everything in it. So a lot of everything you see has to do with that. It comes from that. But I like the fact they're not romantic. They're edgy and trying to put yourself in a place of the person that made it. Just this is kind of what I've always tried to do, and so yeah. Well, yes, it's part of the petroglyphs. See, that is like part of the petroglyphs because they didn't paint faces. Like they didn't do like eyes and nose. That was more of like a European kind of thing. Before then, they would just have a square or a circle for a sort of indicated face, and they're either feathers or fur bows or fur bows also was headdress used by Mi'kmaq. So it could be either or. I'm not really sure, but I just kind of exaggerate them as something to make them more, it gives them more. So no, they were part, and the moose that I do, it has a line through it, from the, and all the moose that I ever saw, the petroglyphs, I have that line through it, and all my moose have that. So there's elements that I have, and that caribou there, the purple caribou, is a petroglyph. And we had caribou herds close to where I live. One of the last herds were close to me, about a few miles away, I think. And so every time I bring back a caribou, it invokes that memory. It brings them back in a way. Same with whales. I like whales. And it took me a long time to remember that, we were a water people, but we ended up in dry land. We're sort of driven from the water, so we ended up in dry land. But we were people that lived on the water. The water was our highway, was everything. Mi'kmaq used to go up the Mississippi River and trade. we were world travelers, so it wasn't just it wasn't just local. We were everywhere, yeah. And canoes helped that to happen.